Come on. Really? You know it's not that good. You know it's not. Skip it up and that up. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new exciting episode of Review Tech USA. I hope all of you are hard. I have birds in front of me, and I also have a special guest in my ear right now, because technically he is. Jay Hooft, who's also my editor, who also shaves my ass. What's going on, Jay? Yes, that's wonderful.
Anyways, I'm doing well. How are you?
I would be even better if this game wasn't insanely overhyped. Today we're talking about Gran Turismo 7. I actually purchased it. I heard great things about it. Then I played it, and then I thought I was ported back to 2009 because it looks like a PlayStation 3 game that has been upscaled. So the reason I wanted to make this video is because, again, I saw the reviews. I understand that this is a racing simulator game, and I want to make it abundantly clear that I have zero hats in the ring with either Sony or Microsoft. As a matter of fact, I've received a bunch of crap fairly recently for saying that Halo Infinite should have been delayed more until the game was completed, and it should have even more polish. And I still hold to that. So this is not a bias where I am pro Sony or Microsoft. Neither is Jay. It's just us calling it like we see it. And this does not look like a current generation game, nor, in my opinion, does it play like a current generation game. And I'm going to let Jay take it from here for a bit and give his take.
Well, I just wanted to come on here and say that I've been playing these games since God knows when. You know, we're going to date ourselves here, but I've been playing since the first one on PlayStation, and I've watched it progress over the years and get better visually, and in terms of the actual physics of the cars, it's gotten better, and everything's gotten better. There's one thing I got to say right off the bat here. When I was sitting down to play the game, I got a copy from Sony, just to be clear, for review, that I started playing it, and I thought, this isn't really an advancement of anything. There's nothing that pushes this into new boundaries. There's nothing that's making me feel excited. As I sat there playing the first couple of, missions that they have in the game, you have to go out right away and get your license like you had to do in the past games, which is fine and dandy. And again, I got to add on to what Rich said. I have nothing against Sony, nothing against the whole franchise, nothing. I love this franchise, and I loved it more than I ever loved Forza. And I do have to bring up that Forza is not a fair comparison when we're talking about a simulation game and an arcade game. So I want to get that out of the way as well. But
I'm going to pause you 1 second, though. But here is the thing. Visually, okay, I understand Forza Horizon 4 is, like you said, it's an arcadey game, where Forza Horizon leans more on the arcadey side. But it seems more realistic visually. I was looking at some of the tracks. I purposely sat down and played it for a bunch last night. That's why I didn't live stream. And even the vegetation looks like PlayStation 3 vegetation. Now, there's going to be arguments brought up that, oh, Rich, what are you looking at? And now, you told me this too, and then I looked into it, and it's accurate. Now, when you look at the cutscenes, I'm like, oh, this is what the game should look like. And then when you go into actual gameplay, why am I playing an upscaled PlayStation 3 game? You told me is that because they have ray tracing in the cutscenes, and only in the cutscenes. The ray tracing, even if you have it selected, is not in the actual races. There is no ray tracing there.
Yep, so there's only ray tracing in the replays and in the garage and photo mode. And that's a choice that was made at some point, probably about 6 months before the game came out, and it was released to the public that, yeah, we're not going to get ray tracing during the races, which, again, isn't that supposed to be a huge selling point of this? And the other thing I wanted to say on that is, all of the trailers that we saw leading up to the release of this game, did they have ray tracing on? Is that sort of a little bit of a false advertisement there, or am I pushing the limits here? Like, I'm asking you, Rich, is that, like, they're showing us a game that might have ray tracing on it, but then the actual game doesn't have that feature while you're racing. And I
think it was misleading because you know what's funny is that even when you're on the tracks, like you know how you start up and they're going around your car and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, oh wow, this looks like what I would expect for a current gen Gran Turismo title. And then you get into the car and it's like, whoa, why did I go back like a generation and a half in visuals? Like, even like the interiors of the cars, there was, and it was like. And it was in one of the photo modes, and they're showing you the interior, and I'm seeing polygons. Like I'm looking at like the gear shifter, and there were, it wasn't fully smooth. This is a 9th generation console, and we're still seeing the jaggies with the polygons. Like you could see them around like the actual stick shift. It was. I'm just. Like, when was this game truly made is my question. Yeah, and another thing that you brought up, and that's really interesting, is that most of the cars are before 2017 in Gran Turismo 7, which is a very interesting red flag. And that was shocking when you told me that.
Well, I find it super strange that we're getting a car game in 2022, and there are some cars that are obviously past 2017 in the game, but a large majority of them are up to 2017. And when you think about a sim game on PlayStation 5 in 2022, and we're 5 years out from the last cars in the game, it doesn't make sense to me. It's like they remastered the PlayStation 4 game for the PlayStation 5 with difficulties, and they also seem to have forgotten about the last 5 years of cars. Now, is that a licensing issue? What is that? What is going on here? Like, are we even talking about this?
It's just such a strange thing for a sim game like that. For people who, and that's the argument I was getting a lot on Twitter is that, Rich, it's a simulation game. You're overlooking into this. I'm like, but wouldn't you want the cars from, I don't know, the past 5 years in there that were made by car manufacturers?
Yeah.
You know, Sony has the money to get licenses for them. That's a big part of Gran Turismo. Why is that not there? And the other thing that's interesting that I wanted to bring up too, and I noticed this playing it, there's no crash physics in this. And there's crash physics in Forza Horizon, which is considered more arcadey, which is amazing to me because this is a simulation game. Crashes happen in races. And I cannot believe that there is still zero crash physics in a 2022 Gran Turismo game.
Well, of course, people are going to argue over the fact that this is a simulation and we don't need to get into that aspect of that side of racing, right? We're not doing a NASCAR race. You know, we're not doing anything that's more serious than, you know, usual street races or on course or anything like that. So people are going to argue that, well, why would you have crashes in a game? Because in real life, if you crash a car, that's the end of the race, essentially, right? But on the other hand, I remember you have like tire damage, right? Your tires wear out, and certain aspects of that wear out in even Gran Turismo 3. So you'd have to go and do pit stops and make sure that your tires were at the proper peak performance before you can go back out on the track. So it's like, where do you draw the line in a simulation game? And I feel like at this point in time, we don't even have like minor scratches on the car to simulate that. It's kind of,
you just took the words out of my mouth. That's what I was going to say. Like, fine, okay, don't have it where the car becomes indisposed and flipped over and destroyed. I get that. You don't want to go into like burnout territory, but have it so don't you? Oh, you scratched up your car. May have to go to the shop and use a little bit of your points to fix up the car, and like that makes sense.
There's one other thing that I want to bring up, and that's the music and the whole presentation of the game itself. And I don't say this lightly because, you know, I review tons of games on my show, and over the years, there's sometimes games where within the first 5 minutes, you know it's not going to be a great experience. Now, with this game, I knew that the physics in the cars would be great, and there's no denying that, and I'll admit it here, you know, because everyone's pressing me on Twitter saying like you're crazy, saying that you're comparing it to Forza Horizon 5. Let me just clear that really quickly here. When I'm comparing it, I'm talking about the visuals of these games. And in a sim game on PlayStation 5, I expect the best, and it's not even close in some regards. In others, yeah, during the races in the rain, it does look pretty good at nighttime sometimes, but there's a real lack of atmosphere in this game. You know what I mean, Rich?
It's very, very, very flat and very, like I said before, with the grass and vegetation. It looks like grass and vegetation you would see in a 7th generation console.
Absolutely.
And and it's not like, oh, Rich, who cares about grass? But I'm saying this, and people were arguing with me, it's a simulation experience. And I don't want to repeat myself too much, but those are the small things that add up. I understand gameplay is more important, but when you're making a game that's, hey, we're trying to simulate something from real life, don't you want it to be as realistic as possible?
It's crazy.
It doesn't do it.
It just doesn't hit that.
I mean, even weird things I noticed too, like some of the reflections that you see are at a lower frame rate than they are. It's like running at 30 frames per second. It's just, I just caught all of them. That may be a bug or whatever, but I caught all of these strange things that it just doesn't add up to a current gen experience. And when you have, I hate to compare it to Forza Horizon, I know people are going to get pissed off, but when you have a beautifully optimized game that's also cross-gen, that's a more of an arcade racing game, I understand, that looks great even on the previous generation consoles. It just makes you scratch your head and think, well, what the hell was Sony doing with this? And what baffles me even more is that where are the reviewers getting their scores from? Because you have places like IGN that are like complaining about the game, and they're like, oh yeah, what did IGN give it? I forgot the damn score of what they gave it.
I think it was like close to a 9.
Yeah, it was like a 9 out of 10 or something like that, but they're complaining about it at the same time. It's like, so which one is it? Or is your score valid or are your complaints valid?
It doesn't, well, on my side of the fence here in terms of me getting the game early and getting to play it early, and sometimes reviewers will talk to each other, and of course, I would never reveal anything that I'm not supposed to reveal or talk about anything I'm not supposed to talk about. But in this case, I will say this. When you're playing a game before it's released to the public, sometimes you'll talk to another reviewer from another source and you'll say, hey, I feel like this. What do you feel like? And everything I said, which it's a 6.5 game overall is what I said. And I thought that the introduction to the game was incredibly boring. It's like watching paint dry, and then getting into the game is so difficult because you have to do the license, and then you have that cafe. That whole fiasco with the cafe is such a joke to me. But moving past that, once you get into the racing, it's fun, but you're let down by the visuals. Some of the visuals look great. Some look just absolutely terrible. It looks like a remastered PlayStation 3 game. So I said all of these things, and I'd say 90% of the people I talked to agreed and said, yeah. There was a few people saying like, yeah, I agree with you, but I don't know, my nostalgia for the series is really getting in the way. And that's a direct quote from somebody I know who reviewed the game, who ended up giving it an 8 out of 10, and I gave it a 6.5.
So that person shouldn't be reviewing games then. They're saying that they can't put their emotions aside and are going to base a game based on their emotions. Well, I'm going to say that right now.
That's where we're going to close out this video. That unfortunately, behind the scenes, there are people that will push their scores in a certain way based on nostalgia, and that's just proof there. I don't know how else to explain it. I'm not really outing anybody, and I've got proof of it. There's no reason.
And they dropped it, and I didn't mean to cut you off. My apologies. They the microtransaction thing before we close out this video.
Well, that's obscene. It's obscene. Those were not revealed.
They did not have them before, right? They didn't have them before for the reviews.
No, because what happened there is we got the game early, and you get to play it early. There was 2 embargoes, which I should also add to you. I'm revealing to Rich right now. There was 2 different embargoes, I believe, meaning that certain people could talk about the game and certain people couldn't. I don't know what that was about, so who knows? But I was technically on the second embargo. Everybody that was on the second embargo who put reviews out, I can confirm, did not know about the DLC add-ons. So that whole store side of things was not visible to them. When the game came out, boom, that's why you'll see updated reviews saying, hey, update, we didn't know at the time, but I believe IGN did an update saying that wow, you got to spend all this money on all this stuff. Now, of course, you don't need to spend the money, but
You could earn
it, of
points,
course,
yeah.
but that's just another way of making money, which is fine. I have nothing really against that. I just don't like the way it was presented. It's like, oh, by the way,
they did the same thing that Activision did with Black Ops 4. I'm pretty sure it was Black Ops 4 where they introduced the microtransaction store after Black Ops 4 was launched. So when it was reviewed without the microtransaction in mind for the reviewers.
ridiculous. Like I've always said, the gaming industry knows what they're doing, and they do these things. These are planned events that take place. There's a reason why Sony had 2 embargoes. There's a reason why I didn't know about the store before reviewing the game or even knowing anything about that aspect of the game. There's reasons for this because it's all marketing and it's planning, because they don't want us to come out and say, oh, by the way, there's this ridiculous price store where they've taken cars from Gran Turismo Sport that used to be $5 and now made them $40 for no reason, for 0 reasons other than money. Now, they don't want that in the reviews. It makes sense. So, of course, boom. Does it have to do with technical things that maybe the store wasn't up, blah, blah, blah? Maybe. I'm just being fair in my assumption here, but
It doesn't look. I'm going to speculate and guarantee that was not the reason.
It doesn't look great. So overall, let me give you my sort of final thoughts, and then you can give your final thoughts on this whole sort of fiasco, because I just want to say once again, if this game, and I think I might be taking the words out of your mouth, but if this game didn't have the name Gran Turismo 7 on it.
Yep. That's what I said yesterday.
It would be a 6.5 across the board. There's no doubt about it. It's a good racing game in terms of its physics and its love for cars and the whole history of automobiles. I'll never deny that. The issue here is that this game is stuck in 1999. There's no doubt about it. By the music, by the menu options, the UI is just absolutely boring. It's like watching paint dry, like I said before. The presentation of how the cars are rolled out to you over the experience of the game, like the Gran Turismo Cafe, is a joke to me. I don't want to go sit in a cafe and talk to some UI on the screen. It's not even a voice actor. You're reading text.
And it's just a face of somebody, like some hairy old man besides myself staring at you.
Think about this for a second. It's literally a photo of some dude you've never met. How are you supposed to react to this? It's just some dude.
He so
just popped. It's horrible.
Who are you? Why am I staring at this hairy man who's like, oh yeah, you have to go here, learn how to do a turn, and then and then the licensing drives me nuts because I actually watched they show the demonstration. So a lot of them I passed, but one of them I couldn't do, and then I watched the demonstration and I'm following exactly how it's going. And it's like, yeah, you didn't pass, try again, and this hairy guy with a beard is staring at me.
Well, listen, the license thing has always been in here, and I understand why it's there. It's to get people.
No, that's
used
fine.
To,
yeah, but I'm saying how they present it is what I'm saying.
No, yeah, it's unbelievably dated. Now, in saying that, also the music, I think I just mentioned this, is so dated in this game. I'm listening to 2000s emo music while I'm racing in a 2022 game. They have nobody at that studio knows how to create excitement. There's no excitement here. It's like, my final thought is this. It's like the game is snobby. I don't know how else to explain it. It's a very snobby experience. Like, either you get it or you don't. And if you don't get this and this sort of vibe to the game, then don't play it. It's like this snobby, over the top, look how cool we are because we have so many cars in our game. Look at the history type of racing game. And I want excitement in a racing game, or at least, I could come up with a better game in 5 minutes here. Just go get the Top Gear guys and get them to talk. You know what I mean? There's an Intellivision Amico. Man, I brought up the Intellivision Amico a lot in videos over the past couple days. There's an Intellivision Amico cult around it. I had people who had Twitter accounts dedicated to Gran Turismo getting pissed off at me and calling me a fat hillbilly. And I'm just like, dude, oh God,
are you looking at the same game I'm looking at? Take away the platform, take away the name of the game. Would you feel the same way about it? Ask yourself that. And they probably can't even ask themselves that. But
no, but it's ridiculous. The other thing that I got to bring up here is that most people are looking at this game on PlayStation 5 saying, it looks amazing. It's my jaw hit the floor. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, great. That's great. Have you played Forza Horizon 5, which is also open world? Have you seen how optimized that is? Now, again, I'm not saying that the racing.
We're going to get roasted. We're going to get roasted to crap.
We're going to get roasted no matter what. But listen, that it looks better. I'm sorry, it looks better in its open world. You drive around in these cars in an open world, and it looks stunning. You look
and
at
if anything, because you're in an
5,
open world environment, it would be more demanding. You know?
Yeah, you would assume that. But like the track and everything. And here, I'll throw up on screen right now. This is from. Who is it again? It's from Game V, who did a comparison between 7 and 5. I'll throw it on screen here. Look at the track itself. Like, the Gran Turismo footage just looks so dull and boring and flat. There's no atmosphere to it. And I don't know how you can look at that and go, it's the best looking racing game. It isn't. Forza is. It's right next to it. Look at the screen.
What bothers me, too, is with the reviewers, and I know why people do this, because I'm in the same business, is that I feel that a lot of not the user scores, and there's a lot of people, and look, I'm sure there's people there that, oh, it's a Sony exclusive, so people with no lives are going there and giving it zeros, so not with not those Metacritic scores, but there's other people saying that, look, I just expected more from this. I got it. There was someone there saying they were a fan of Gran Turismo since it first came out, and they feel disappointed by this one because it just is not living up to what they expected or what the reviewers are making it out to be. And we'll end the video with this, is that what annoys me is that I feel that a lot of these reviewers, because they're afraid of losing a base, they're afraid of people stop watching, because trust me, I know they will if you piss them off. They don't want to piss them off. So they're like, yes, this game is great. It's a 10 out of 10. Please make sure you stay sub to our channel or keep going to our website so we get ad revenue. That's what it is.
I mean, that's absolutely true. If you look at some of the biggest talkers online, I'm not going to name names. He doesn't do it anymore. But if you watch their videos, they're always on the right side of the opinion. They're always on the side where more people agree on, no matter what.
I know who you're talking about.
You know who I'm talking about. Did you ever see him talk the opposite way and say, oh, you guys are totally wrong on this? No, because he'd lose 1,000 subs in 2 seconds. And it's money. And it's the future. It's that simple. And I'm not scared to say it's a 6.5, which is not a horrible score. It's still a decent racing game. But this is officially the most overhyped game I played for the last 3 or 4 years, especially on this current gen. It is so overhyped.
It is the most.
I can't believe it.
This is the most overhyped game of current gen, hands down. That is without question. That can't even be refuted, in my opinion.
When I saw the scores come out, my jaw actually hit the floor for real, though, and I wasn't.
Your jaw hit the ground, man. Your jaw hit the ground.
I wasn't even looking at the bloody user scores. I'm just looking at the 88 Metascore for this game. As a reviewer for 12 years, makes absolutely no sense, and that's my final word on the game. Makes no sense whatsoever.
I've pretty close.
And you know what? That's just my opinion. It's my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows?
And I'll end the video with this. I've been doing this for just as long as you, and I haven't seen anything. It's very seldom, I should say, that I've seen something like this besides the Intellivision of Miko, which actually is still a crazier scenario. But I've talked about that enough on my live stream channel, which is RTU Streams, which you should sub to, link below in the description and top pinned comment. So, look, take it for what it is. You can hate both of us for having this opinion, but we're calling it like we see it. I like to give honest opinions. I like to give honest takes. And this game, Gran Turismo 7, does not deserve an 88 average on Metacritic. This is Rich of Review Tech USA signing out with Jay, my editor, who's now going to shave my ass. Have a good one.